We are getting the heck out of here. We have had the hardest time just like being at home when Bane's not here, because literally everything that we do I feel like makes us think of him. Like when I make eggs in the morning and I put cheese in it, I open the bag of cheese and like he doesn't come because obviously, you know, he's not here. And just like, you know, being in the backyard and sunsets and stuff, and like obviously he can't see the sunset with us anymore. Like every little thing just makes us think of him being in this house. So we are getting out of here. We're gonna go on a trip and we're gonna be gone for about a week. So I'm gonna have this little TBR card box pick out the books that I bring on vacation. I did this before for my last video, and it was really easy for me to do because I feel like I always get in my head about like what I want to bring on vacation. I just like overthink it. So I will link similar cards below. I don't know exactly where I got this. On the front it says it's from Christie Bookmarks, so maybe that's like the business, but I think I literally just grabbed it off of Etsy, and they have tons on Etsy. This is my TBR, but I've also added so many books to this little list that were not on my TBR before, just because like throughout the month I'm like such a mood reader and I never stick to my TBR. So I don't even really know what was on my TBR initially, but if you guys want to see like what was on my TBR at the beginning of the month, I will link that video below so you guys can go watch. I also have some library books, but I don't think I want to bring the library books with me because like what if I lose them or damage them or something. But the library books that I have are Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, Asking for a Friend by Andy Osho, and if you guys want to see the video where I picked up the library books, you guys are more than welcome to go watch. I will link that video below. I also picked up Pride and Protest by Nikki Payne, and then I picked up Text Appeal by Amber Roberts. And by the time that you guys see this video, I'll already be on vacation, so I don't know if you guys will know what I am reading at that point or not. But yeah, I will literally already be on vacation. So these are the library books I'm gonna leave here. And then there's also 2 books I'm adding to the stack, even though there's a million books that I already have here that I don't need to add. But I feel like Brittany Cherry's writing is just such a comfort for me. I have read The Mixtape by her, which is a 4.5 out of 5-star read for me. I've read Disgrace by her. I read The Coldest Winter by her. I've read The Air He Breathes by her. All 3 of those were 4-star reads. Her books just give me so much comfort and I absolutely love her writing. So I want to read The Problem with Dating because the second book in this series comes out at the end of this month. I think it comes out on like the 23rd. And again, her books are just so good. They always have like really good plot twists. And I just love like her character. So I definitely want to bring this one. And then Alive at Night by Emily Reese is another book that I've heard great things about. And I feel like whenever I need comfort reads, I try to like get books that seem like fluffy and fun and not like too heavy. And this one says, former childhood enemies Julian and Juniper are forced to work together, but a simple exchange could change everything. He needs help with his case and she needs a fake boyfriend. So it seems really fluffy, fun, and easy. And this one says, if I had to choose a person to hate, Alex Ramirez would have been first on the list. So it seems like they're maybe rivals to lovers or enemies to lovers or something like that. So I'm going to pick out 5 cards, I think, from this stack because I usually end up finishing like a book on the plane. No, maybe I'll pick out 5, but I'm only going to choose 4 because I usually end up finishing like a book on the plane, and I feel like if I pick out 5 cards, then I can decide which 4 I want. Like I don't ever really like being put into a box, you know what I mean? Like being told exactly what I have to do. So it's just like easier for me if I just pick out cards and then I use some of the cards and not all of the cards. So then I kind of feel like I have a choice. Like I'm such a mood reader. Like it's very weird. Like if I feel like someone's telling me like you have to read this at this time, like I have the hardest time actually doing that. Like you guys know I have a reading fantasy for a week video coming, and literally that video has been longer than a week because in my mind, I know that I should be reading fantasy. And so in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna want to read anything but fantasy. I don't know. It's just like a weird thing. So I have finished 1 fantasy book, but I still have 2 more that I want to read this month. But again, that just all depends on my mood. And I think one thing that's helped me stay out of a book slump, like I've literally never been in one, I think it's helped me stay out of a book slump because I really give myself the freedom to literally pick whatever I want, whenever I want, and if I'm reading something and not vibing with it, I put it down, I pick up something else, which is also why I'm usually reading like 3 to 4 books at a time. I actually just finished reading 5 books at a time, which I realized was a little too much for me, but it was because I just would like read something and be like, not in the mood for this, I'm gonna put it down. And I've never DNF'd a book, so I always come back to the books later, but I think that again has helped me to not feel like boxed in. So if you're someone who like gets in book slumps often and you just kind of get like bored of reading or whatever, like try not to give yourself so many restrictions. I feel like sometimes when we stick to one book for too long, if we're just like not in the mood, it just like puts us in a slump. So if you're reading a romance, pick up a thriller. If you're reading like a heavy heartfelt book, maybe pick up a fluffy book. Like there's so many books and genres and tropes out there that I feel like will fit your mood when you need it. So now that I feel like I've shuffled this way more than I need to, I'm going to pick 5 cards from this, and these all say different things on the front. Let's pick just like one from the middle. And this one says, read a romance with a cartoon cover. I feel like this is gonna be so easy because so many books have cartoon covers. I'm gonna pick all the cards first, and then we will look through the books together to find the like one that I want. Now let's do this one right here. This one says, read a romance that features a love triangle. Now I feel like this is kind of hard because I actually read my first book with a love triangle, and it was Lipstick and Camera Clicks by DJ Murphy. Super great book, absolutely obsessed with it, really, really loved the writing. It was fun, it was fluffy, but I feel like it's very rare to find books with love triangles that are done well. So maybe this will be the card that I don't end up using. I don't know, we'll see. Let's pick one over on the far side. Try not to like look at them or anything. Read a romance book with a diverse cast of characters. Love this. You guys know that I love diverse reads. I love reads with characters that are not all the same, that are not just like the typical, you know, tropes that you might see in books. So I feel like that one will also be fun and easy. And I like the cards that are kind of easy because I feel like it gives me like freedom, but also it kind of gives me a little structure. I'm very big on like structure. I feel like I can never go a month without picking a TBR because I have so many books to choose from. So narrowing the pile to like 20 and then picking from those, I feel like helps me to be like, okay, this is what you're gonna read this month. But if I just like, you know, finish a book and I'm like, okay, just pick anything and everything from your shelf, I feel like I would be overwhelmed, which I don't know if anyone else is like that. Comment below, like if you like structure or if you feel overwhelmed when there's too much structure. I feel like I feel overwhelmed when I don't have structure, which is like a weird, I don't know, thing. I'm also going to shuffle this again because I just want to make sure that these cards are fully shuffled. I used to be able to do this bridge thing, and every time I do this video, I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to do it, but then again, I just don't end up doing it every single time. I thought about having a TBR jar choose my reads for vacation, but I decided against it because I didn't want to write out anything to put into a jar. So I feel like this is a lot easier. All right, we've got them open again. Let's do one on the far right side. And this one says, read a romance book that is set in a beachside or coastal town. I'm so glad I picked this one up because I want a beach read so bad for vacation. Like I feel like beach reads hit so like hard when you're on the beach reading about a beach. So I love that. And then I have one more to choose. So let's do this one. It says, read a romance book with a second chance at love plot. I love that. Okay, so we got some really good cards. Again, I will link some similar cards. They have tons of cards on Etsy like this, and I feel like this is a great way to choose your books for the month. Usually for my TBR, I just literally pick whatever I want. So whenever we go on vacation or I like have maybe a weekend away or whatever, it's nice to pull these out for stuff like that because it doesn't box me in for the whole month, but just for like a short period of time. So the cards that we chose are read a romance book with a cartoon on the cover, read a romance book that features a love triangle, read a romance book with a diverse cast of characters, read a romance book that is set in a beachside or coastal town, and read a romance book with a second chance at love plot. I think the one that I'm going to like not use is the love triangle one, just because I feel like that is kind of hard to find. I might end up switching my like mind or whatever, but I'm gonna put the books together and like kind of section them out into what could fit each potential card, and then we'll go through them together and pick the books that I will bring on vacation. Every single time I start filming, someone starts doing something and someone is like mowing right now, so if you hear that, just don't worry about it. But the first card that I picked, or one of the cards I picked, was read a romance book with a second chance at love plot. So I have 3 books that kind of fit that category. The 3 books are Talking at Night by Claire Daverly, and I've actually been really wanting to read this. It's supposed to be a friends to lovers story. It's supposed to be a really soft romance that like reminds you of like the nostalgic time of when you were younger and like, I don't know, had dreams of falling in love with the love of your life and things like that. And they like connect when they think they're like 8 or 9, and then they end up, something pulls them apart, and they kind of come back together and like reconnect and then get disconnected as they get older. So it's one of those types of stories. And then When Morning Comes by A.M. Wilson is another book that is also on my TBR, and this is actually, it literally says on the back that she gets knocked up by her best friend, and I think he's in love with her, but she's not necessarily in love with him. And I feel like this is just gonna be a really good book. She's pregnant with his baby, that's what it says on the back, and she shoves him back into the friend zone instead of trying to let him in. And then the last book is Meant to Be by Lauren Jackson, and this is about, this could actually fit the love triangle like trope, but I decided to like not use that card because I really didn't have any other options other than this book. But it's about Josie. She ends up leaving Fern Grove because she has like a love triangle situation, and then she ends up having to come back to face her old life that she left behind because of something, I think, that happened. So all of these books look so good. On the front this says, "You'll break my heart, Harley," and then it says, "Have you ever thought you might break mine?" This is a book that I haven't heard a ton of people talk about. I also haven't heard a ton of people talk about this book either. And then this book is actually a new release, I'm pretty sure, from last year. So many good options. I'm going to choose one of these, but I'm actually gonna not tell you what I chose until the very end of the video. Next we have a stack of books that is for read a romance book with a diverse cast of characters. We have 4 books for this option. The first book that I have is Save Her For Me by Cami, and this is written by a Black author. This one is a book that I don't think has a ton of reviews like at all. It's actually kind of hard to find online. I think it only has like a few hundred, if that. And it's about a girl who pretty much unapologetically lives her life. She's like living the best life, and her best friend is hopelessly in love with her, but she like is not interested. Like she's just all about her money, like working and all the things. And then it looks like, I guess I could just read the back. It says, after the love of his life left him at the altar, Wisdom Graham swore he'd never return home. However, a major opportunity puts him right back in Jonah Hills. He wasn't looking for love, but when the fiery, outspoken beauty steps into his life, he finds himself smitten. And then at the bottom of this, in like the last paragraph, it says, past relationships and family secrets are exposed, threatening to destroy everything they've built. Will Janae allow Wisdom to prove her wrong about love, or will the trauma from her past keep her running from the very thing she needs? And again, I haven't heard many people talk about this, if anyone at all. I genuinely don't even know how I found this book, but you guys know I love buying books that aren't super hyped up yet, because I feel like there's just so many gems that we haven't found, and like someone has to read them to like, you know, get people put on. So excited to read that one. And then also have Hold Me While You Wait by Kimberly Brown. So many of you guys have said that this is a really good book, and it's like very heartfelt and emotional, and I genuinely don't even know what it's about. Like I literally have, I feel like I always will like read the back of books when I first get them, and then by the time that I read them, even if it's like a day later, like I have the worst memory, I just genuinely will forget what it's about. So I'm gonna kind of go into this one blind, because I feel like so many of you guys have said that this book is really, really good, and I actually found out about this author because of you guys. So I'm gonna leave it at that, because I just know that it's gonna be good. And again, that's by a Black author who writes about diverse characters. Then I have Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, and this is by an author who, she started on like, she was an independently published author, and then she like got super hyped up on TikTok, and then Barnes ended up picking her up, and so I think she has like 2 or 3 books in Barnes & Noble, which is so cool. But I have one of the original covers, and I've read one of her books. I read Next of Kin and really enjoyed it, so I feel like I will also like this book. It's very easy. Her books are easy to read, very fun, very fluffy. But this one actually has something that happens in it that completely changes Winnie's life. And I don't really want to go into it too much because it doesn't actually say the trope that is in this book that some people do not enjoy, and I don't want to spoil it, but I've heard from people what the trope is because, I don't know, I feel like sometimes people will be like, oh, there's no spoilers, and then they'll literally like spoil the biggest plot point of the book. So I'm trying not to do that, so I'm not going to say what the trope is about or really much of what it's about, but Winnie's life is pretty much flipped upside down, and you get to read about that in this book. This is also a book where there is disability representation. You guys can see on the front one of the characters, and they talk about his life. So yeah, that is another book with diverse representation in it. And then I also picked up Heartbeat, which this is by a Black author. One of you guys actually said this was super good, and you're like, you have to read it. It says, is anyone ever ready for the kind of love that stops your heart? And this is supposed to be those like a very deep, emotional, heartfelt like romance. And I think it's about two people who like don't want to settle down, and then they end up, I think, having like a one night stand, I'm pretty sure, or they end up like connecting with each other, and then they just like can't, like don't want to let each other go. I think I could be totally wrong because again, my memory and things. So I'm gonna pick one of these books for the card that has diverse cast of characters, and I will let you guys know what I picked at the end of the video. Now I have a little stack of books that fits for the category of a romance book with cartoons on the cover. I actually didn't think that I had any, but I actually have a ton. So I am gonna go through these. Can't Let Her Go by Kiana Alexander is about two friends who are so close to falling in love it hurts. That's literally what it says on the back. Imogene, obviously, this was recommended by Natalie Lawyer. I love her recommendations, and this looks like a good book. Something More by Jackie Kalila, and I also have Project Not. This is a graphic novel along with Juliet Takes a Breath, which is also another graphic novel. And then Alive at Night, and this is by Emily Reese, and The Problem with Dating by Brittany Cherry. I have so many options to choose from, which is so funny because literally as I was looking at the card, I was like, I don't think I have any books with like this, you know, what's it called? Category. And I ended up having tons of them. So now I have tons to choose from, which is great. I'm not gonna read through all of these, but I'm just gonna pick the one that I like want, obviously, and then I will read what that is about whenever I like read off the card at the end of the video. So since I don't have any romance books that are set in a beach side or coastal town, I'm actually gonna pull another one of these romance TBR cards just because I literally was looking through my stack and I was like, I do not have one book that is about the beach, which is kind of like, I don't know, I usually bring beach books on vacation, but I just have read most of them. So I feel like there's gonna be a lot more that come out. Like Annabelle Monaghan has a new book coming out, and a lot of the books are coming out like mid-June. So I feel like I'll probably read a lot of those new releases in the summer. But yeah, it was just kind of like interesting to me that I didn't have any books set at the beach. But I'm going to pick one of these, and I'm gonna turn it actually your way and not look so you guys can see some of these. I don't know if it's upside down or not, but you can see what some of these say. And I'm gonna pull this one. It says, read a romance book that takes place in a tropical or exotic location. I literally do not have any books that take place in any kind of location like that. At least I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that I do. So, okay, I'm gonna pull another one. Let me just pulling all these cards. I guess I could probably pick something off my shelf, but I really don't think that I have any beachy like books. Read a romance book that has a happily ever after ending. I feel like this is any romance book, so I feel like this gives me a lot of options. So these are a lot of the other books on my TBR. I have 4 right here, and all of these books I think have a happy ever after ending, but again, I don't know for sure because obviously I have not read any of these books, but I'm just kind of guessing that they do. Colty by Mariana Zapata is a slow burn, and so many people have talked about her writing. I've never read anything from her, but I own, I think, like 3 of her books. And it's because I feel like I really enjoy slow burns, but I just don't know why I haven't picked one of her books. Maybe because they're like thicker than most, and I get kind of scared going into new authors if the books are really thick. 1% of You is probably one of my most beautiful covers, and this is about a mom who, I think she's like a single mom, and you get to see like her struggle and like work through things. And then Colty, I think, is actually a romance where she falls in love with her, I think she falls in love with her coach, I'm pretty sure. Like, she loved him when she was younger or something, and then like he ended up becoming her coach, but she didn't know that he was gonna be her coach. I don't even remember like the full story. I also have Addicted to You, which so many of you guys recommended this series, and you said that I should read this if I love the Boys of Tommen series, which you guys know I'm obsessed with that series. Me and Taylor cannot stop talking about it. And this is a book that I feel like shows addiction in a way that a lot of other books don't. So it'll be interesting to read that because I don't read a ton of books about like addiction. And then Keeping 13 is a book I've been wanting to read for so long because Taylor has read pretty much this entire series. I think she has one book left, and if not, have read them all, and I literally haven't even read book 2. Loved book 1, literally was obsessed with all the characters, and this says falling in love was the easy part, what comes next is the test. So this is Johnny's story, Johnny and Shannon's story, and it continues on. The new book in this series actually came out this month, I think, or last month, and I own that book because I just have loved the series so much. So I also added that, but I also put that in my stack to read on vacation last vacation. I didn't end up getting into it, so I feel like if I picked it this time, would I get to it? I don't know. So yeah, these are the 4 books that fit that category that I think will have a happily ever after at the end. I'm gonna pick one of them and then show you guys the books that I picked at the end of the video. I let the TBR cards choose what I was gonna read, so we're gonna just figure out what I picked, because honestly, it's very hard to choose just anything for vacation, but I feel like when you have a limited amount, it makes it even harder. So I'm going to read the first card, and it says, read a romance book that has a happily ever after ending. Now, do I know if this is a happily ever after? I really, really don't, but I think that it does because it continues on in the series. Now, comment below if you guys know if it has a happily ever after or not. I feel like this one was kind of hard because like you have to guess, but Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh is the book that I feel like is gonna have that happily ever after ending. Also, I rated the first book 4 stars, and Taylor read this book and she said that this book she thinks I'll like even more than the first one, which for her, the entire series is a 5-star series. And I asked her, I was like, which book is your favorite? And she was like, it's hard to even choose one book because they all kind of build on each other. And I love series like that because I feel like Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings is a similar series. Like when people are like, what's your favorite book? I'm like, I literally can't pick one because they all like build on each other, and the growth that they have by book 5 makes me appreciate book 1. So I'm hoping that this series is also like that because I love books like that. Also, a romance book with a cartoon cover. You guys know, you probably already know the book that I picked for this, and it is The Problem with Dating by Brittany Cherry. I love bringing diverse reads with me on vacation, but also Brittany Cherry's books are just so good. If you've never read anything of hers, please, please, please pick up one of her books. She just was added to Barnes & Noble. Like, she hasn't had any books in Barnes & Noble until this year, and The Air He Breathes by her is in Barnes & Noble. That book was such a good book. The Mixtape was such a good book. Disgraced, The Coldest Winter, just so many of her books are incredible. And I feel like if you like, oh, I guess I forgot a book by her, The Holidates, I've read by her. So I think that is that what, like 5 books? Like, if you just like books that have romance but also like a side plot, kind of like Only for the Weak by Natasha Bishop vibes, like there's something else going on, I feel like you'll really like her books. They're also really fun for vacation because they're quick and to the point. Read a romance book with a diverse cast of characters. I feel like reading books by Black authors definitely hits this because they create just diverse scenes and diverse characters that I feel like are easy to connect with. And I picked this book by Kimberly Brown. It's Hold Me While You Wait. So many of you said that this book is incredible. Literally, I found out about this author because of you guys. And I do read the comments. So if you guys have any books that you think that I would love, please comment them below because I really do take your recommendations into consideration. And the last card that I pulled was Read a Romance Book with a Second Chance Love Plot. I picked a book that I've actually been wanting to read for a super long time, and it's also my favorite romance trope, but I did pick 2 more books that I'm going to bring on vacation along with these 4 just because y'all know I gotta have options, because if I get there and I am in the mood to not read any of these, I want to have something that is like a different option. So I picked something that wasn't in any of the stacks that I showed you guys. But the book that fits that little card is Talking at Night by Claire Daverly. I've heard a lot of things about this book and I've heard that it's great. I also like to pick books sometimes that I feel like will be great for the airplane, because there's just some books that I can't read on an airplane, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes, like, you know, the curse words, like all the things, I do not want someone who's sitting next to me to look over and see someone like spewing curse words at someone in the book. Like, I feel like these are the types of books that are great for whenever I'm on the plane. This book is in the, I think, contemporary fiction section, but it is a romance. So I feel like it's gonna give me Emily Henry vibes, where there's like a subplot of romance, and I am really here for that. Then there's two books that I picked that were not in the stack at all. And I picked The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson. Now I picked this book because, again, I always feel like I need to have a book on the plane that is not gonna have anything that is gonna just like make me embarrassed to sit next to somebody's grandma, if you know what I mean. And this book is a thriller. I feel like thrillers are really good for that because they're quick, to the point. Which is also interesting to me because I am less like, I feel less awkward reading about someone like getting offed in a thriller than I do about someone who's like maybe cursing in a book, or there's like a spicy scene or something. Like I feel less embarrassed about like the thriller, which is weird. Like someone please let me know what the difference is, because honestly both of them are wild to read. But I picked up this book because I've heard that it's a really good thriller. And then I also, this is actually a super random pick, but I was looking on my shelf for beach reads because I was like, oh, do I have any beach reads that I could like add into that other card? And I didn't really end up finding any. And then I found this. It's A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This is the 5th anniversary edition, so it does have a different cover, but this book just looks very good. I actually saw someone make a TikTok about this book, and they were like, if you like diverse reads, you should read this one. This is not written by a Black author, but apparently, I think one of the characters, like the main characters, is Black, and I was like, you know what? I'm hooked. Like, I'm literally hooked. And it's not that I can't, you know, read stories that are not about Black characters, because like I do that literally all the time. Like half of this stack is by characters who are not Black, but I do feel like whenever the characters are Black, I resonate with just the writing style, if it's a Black author, or just some of the things that the characters maybe go through or talk about, and it's nice to have that connection. So read diversely. I feel like it's very important. And yeah, these are all of the books that I picked. Again, I have a massive TBR, and all of them obviously couldn't come with me, but I'm definitely gonna be bringing my Kindle, because if for any reason I want to read, you know, whenever it's dark, I will be reading some of these books on Kindle, maybe, you know, in the airport or on the airplane or wherever. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in Mexico. Bye.